First and foremost, it's an honor to be able to do this today. And once again, we gathered here in the city of Detroit, which always means something special to me in my heart. So I'm going to break the ice and just jump right into the questions. And it's going to be very easy. I like throwing alley-oops and lobs. So I'm going to ask the question. Feel free to answer if you want to answer, okay? What advice do you have for someone who is just starting out and unsure what their unique talent or value is?
Okay, I'll start.
Go ahead.
I would probably say that...
Now in the beginning, do me one favor.
Yes.
Introduce yourself.
So
Introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Angelique Joseph. I am Senior Vice President over Naturalizer. It's a global brand. I head up all of design and product development. Okay. I would say that they should always take an opportunity with any interaction that they have, any meeting that they have, any engagement in the environment that they're in, to always be open to listen. I think listening and learning is probably the biggest skill and expertise that they could gain. Sometimes you don't always need to speak when you're in the room. I think sometimes that younger audience feels like they have to have a point of view and have to say something. And a lot of times it looks too forced. I think if they definitely sit back and listen and learn with a more active ear, that they can then, at some point, when they do feel the need to open and speak up, then their audience knows that it's coming from a space of thought, and it's also coming from a space of expertise.
Okay. Anyone else?
I'll add to that. I think something that is very critical no matter where you are in your career or just life in general is just staying very, very curious and also remaining a student. So in the context of being curious, you could look at it two ways. If you're in some large matrix organization, go talk to the other people in the other departments. Set up meetings with managers, directors, VPs, whatever. Learn about those other verticals within your company. If you're an entrepreneur, Brian Grazer wrote a really great book about curiosity. If you don't know, he's a very famous movie producer, and he literally spends 5 hours a week reaching out to people across multiple disciplines just to learn. No matter where you are, what it is that you're doing, being tenaciously curious will inevitably add value and possibly put you on a different direction that you didn't even realize you would go. So I would definitely recommend staying curious, being a student, and not being afraid to reach out to people to have those conversations.
Good answer. Anyone else?
For me, I would say, my advice to anybody starting out would be to remain authentic and understand the power of being authentic to whatever that dream or that purpose is that was placed in your heart. My name is Lanny Smith. I'm the founder of Actively Black. It's a Black-owned athleisure sportswear brand. Thank you. And when I launched Actively Black 3 years ago, I had a lot of people tell me that it wouldn't work. I had a lot of Black people tell me that it wouldn't work, right? And me staying true to that vision that was placed in my heart, me staying true to the authenticity that we built the brand around, has allowed me to find my tribe, or for my tribe to actually find me. So I think a lot of times we think when we're chasing these things, we'll sacrifice our authenticity to move up or to succeed, and then you end up losing yourself. So that would be my advice, to remain authentic and true to your dream.
Great answer, great answer. Anyone else? Okay. What role does mentorship or support system play in helping individuals with their own worth step into the power community?
What's the last part of that?
Okay. What role does mentorship or support group play in helping individuals own their worth and step into power confidentially?
Oh, I could definitely take this one. My name is Tiffany Harden. I'm the CEO of a marketing agency, Guild Creative Group, and we work with Fortune 500 companies on creator campaigns. So I didn't start at a CEO. Well, I started as an intern. I started as an assistant, and it was absolutely informal connections and relationships that helped me not only learn, but it also helped me grow in my craft. So as an entrepreneur, you're responsible for your own leadership. You don't have somebody over you that's like, hey, you should do this or go to that, that conference or that whatever. So it's important to have people around you that are able to pour into you. And the only reason you can get to that point is by, doing well and operating at a level that allows people to be attracted to you, so you can have some vulnerability and say, hey, I'm reaching a point where, I need to break through. I need I need another teacher. I need another situation. So, not being afraid to go out in the world and get new teachers so that are better at something that you're not great at, and saying, hey, I think I need some of that over there. I think I need some of what you got. And allowing people to pour into you, which means you have to be a student often. So that's very important.
Okay, great
I
answer.
agree with
Great
that.
answer.
I think mentorship's important for 2 reasons.
Well, do me one favor, introduce yourself.
Oh, I'm Jan Erica. Hi, everyone. I work for PepsiCo Design in the strategy and ops team. But I believe mentorship's important for 2 reasons. Yes, for the feedback and the confidence and, all the things to hear about. You're doing great. You can do this. But then also a mentor, a good one, is honest, and they're willing to tell you your blind spots, which you can't normally see yourself. And that's what makes you and propels you into the next level, makes you better, more well-rounded, and gets you probably closer to where you need to be. But having a mentor who's willing to be honest with you, for me, was really important, because there were a lot of times where I didn't necessarily see what I was doing wrong, but having a different perspective and then also feedback on how to solve for those things was super helpful.
Okay.
I'll say one other thing to add on to that. I think even if you don't have a mentor, or say you've been through that mentoring process, you can also look at your peers and look to someone that typically you go to meetings with all the time, that you can confide in, you really trust their opinion. And I used to do that. I had a coworker that I used to tell her, like, hey, after this meeting, let me know how I presented, or let me know how my audience was responding to what I was saying, if they're really, just nodding, or did I really move the needle and get closer to my goals. So having that confidential person to help you, guide you through that process, I think is also beneficial. Even if you don't have a mentor, you can always do that.
Okay, great answer. Anyone else?
I would add on top of that, in terms of just the importance of mentorship, some of the greatest talents of the world had mentorships, and that's one of the main reasons which propelled them to where they are. And I think my 2 probably favorite examples are, if you think of who Boudini Brown is, he was the trainer / mentor for Muhammad Ali. He was the one that really gave Muhammad Ali that confidence and that courage. Like, Muhammad Ali just wasn't instantly that person. When you look at someone like Magic Johnson, even, he had Pat Riley and Kareem on the court as a basketball mentor, and when he wanted to get into business, he had Michael Ovitz, who was the head of Disney at that time, and he's now one of the wealthiest athletes ever. So it just shows you that we all need mentorship in some way, shape, or form.
Great answer. So this kind of piggybacks a little bit off the last question, but it's kind of reversed it on you guys. What piece of advice have you received, and you can mention who gave you this advice, that made you realize that you was on the road to what you really wanted to do in your career?
Oh, I have to share this because he's from here. There's a guy named Marcus Collins who is my mentor, one of my favorite people in the world. He has a book out called For the Culture, teaches at Ross School. And when we were at Translation, which is an ad agency that Steve Stout owns, we were at Translation together, and we're doing the review process, At this point, I've been at Translation for a long time, and I was rolling in at like 10:30. I was like, whatever. Like, I was over it, dog. Like, I was so over it. And so we're doing the review, and I was already doing my company, the agency that I run now. It was already happening in my mind. And the review happens, he shuffles his papers, and he's like, yo, okay, enough of that. Why aren't you doing what you want to do? And I was like, how dare, like, when your boss is telling you, looking you dead in your face, talking about, girl, what you doing here? Like, why aren't you doing what you want to do? And that caused a series of other questions in my mind, which was, the next one was, who am I being loyal to by staying here? So when you were talking about being authentically you, like, by the way, the spoiler alert is, if you're being loyal to somebody else or something else and it's not yourself, it's going to be a long road. So you have to cut it, and cut it quickly. And the second thing that he told me that made me really, I was like, damn. So I had asked him a question that somebody asked me and I didn't know how to answer. And it was, I was like, what is something that I need to learn? And he said, Tiffany, you have an idea and a vision in your head for something, but you have to learn how to mold wet clay. Right. And because not everything that is in your mind is going to come to you on the silver plate. You have to be smart enough, savvy enough, courageous enough to look at it and be like, you know what, I can mold this, and not be so frustrated that it didn't come so perfect. That's a Virgo in me, I can't help it. But that's just those are two things that I felt it sticks with me, and it's been sticking with me since I was in my 20s.
Man, for me, I've often had moments where I've had to fight imposter syndrome, especially in rooms like this. My background, I was a basketball player who had the dream of playing in the NBA since I was 5 years old. I had no plan B or C. I signed with the Sacramento Kings in 2009 and tore my knee up 33 days after signing my first NBA contract, had 2 microfracture surgeries, and my career was over with in 33 days. So there's nothing that I'm doing now that I have any background in. I don't have any education in any of this. I don't have any experience in any of this. And my mother told me, so she was the one who gave me the advice. She was the one who said, if God put that dream in your heart, he's gonna give you the tools to execute on it, but you've got to act in faith and move forward. And so I've had to constantly pull back on that advice when I've had those moments where I'm like, man, I'm not even supposed to be in this room, but I've acted in faith, I've acted on those dreams that were placed in my heart. And so, that's the advice that I would share.
Hey, Mom always know, man.
Right.
I think for me, I live in the design space. So designing came very naturally to me. I knew that I was very strong in that craft. But then going into this business environment, especially in American corporate culture, they didn't make that space for us, regardless if you're a designer or not. Like, you're walking into this space, you feel very odd. Sometimes you don't know how to have the right kind of conversations. But I had to realize that being in design is just bigger than just making a beautiful shoe. And I realized that once I want to elevate myself into more that executive level, I have to look beyond that. I did not have the right lingo, the jargon, the business jargon, the financial background. I had not a clue. I'd go into these meetings and not understanding. I may have a great design idea, but it wasn't going anywhere because I couldn't explain who the consumer was, what the demand looked like, what is the financial strategy, what is the costing method, wholesale versus retail. Like, I literally had not a clue. So someone that I was working with gave me advice of, you know what, you need to kind of take like a business course. So I looked outside the company as well. Like, the company had literally nothing to teach me, of course, being a woman of color, how to have that language. Like, how can I get my point across? And my white counterparts understanding what I was saying, because he may have been saying the same thing, but I'm saying it differently and I wasn't being heard. So I say that to also say, like, you can look outside of your company. If your company's not offering something that you know that you need additional help or a skill set on, or strategy you're just not getting to get you to the next level, definitely look outside. And hopefully they can, help you get there, because that's what I recognized I needed, that skill set in order to achieve my goal.
Great answer.
I'm taking in what she's saying. This isn't really answering your question, but I agree with everything you just said. Knowledge is power, and if you're in a position in which you feel like you could be lacking or falling short or just not meeting your own, benchmark of being success in that area, getting knowledgeable on it, whether your company offers it or not, is so important. And I think that's kind of how I ended up in the job I ended up, a mix of that and what you said earlier, curiosity. And I found out, wow, I could get paid to do this. I'm gonna pursue the strategy thing.
I would echo a number of the comments here. So early in my career, I initially thought I wanted to be in music, be a big music executive. And we were doing a project with Quincy Jones. His autobiography had just come out, and I was telling him how much I admired him, telling him all the aspirations that I had, and business, culture, all of these things that I wanted to do and, you know, replicate a life like his. And in the book, he wrote something to me and he said, hey, I left you some lifelong advice, which I think is applicable to everyone here. It's super simple, and I think it speaks to what Lainey said as well, in the sense of, he said, Jason, if you can see it, you can be it. So if you have that vision of whatever it is, to that point, you have to put in the work. You have to find your source of inspiration. Michael Jordan wasn't just good. He took one day off after the season. He put in the effort because he wanted to be a champion, but if you can see it, you can be it. And unfortunately, if my mom told me that, I probably wouldn't believe her, but it was Quincy Jones, so like it kind of resonated. But obviously it worked because I'm having this conversation with you guys right now, repeating the same thing.
Great answer. This is going to be more personal. So I want you to take a deep breath, and I really want you to think about this. If you haven't already, when have you had your aha moment that you know you have arrived in what you're doing in your career right now? Or have you had your aha moment, like, I'm here, and it's meant for me to do this. And since we went this way, we'll come back that way. So back on you. It's kind of like we're playing Uno, so reverse, back on you.
Okay. So I also didn't introduce myself either, so I guess it'll probably provide a little bit more context. So Jason Brown, I've been working in marketing, media, sports for the past 15 plus, almost 20 years. I was head of marketing for 4 different divisions at Foot Locker. I launched the NBA partnership for Pepsi, loyal to Pepsi, and a number of other places in the space. Most recently now, I started a consulting firm where we work with larger companies in terms of incorporating culture into their strategy, in addition to working with creators, helping them commercialize intellectual property. And I think as it relates to my aha moment, this might sound kind of weird, but I kind of fell into where I ended up in my career, and even though I was in some pretty prestigious positions, I ended up even, you know, becoming on the Forbes list without actually even being a college graduate. And I realized I still wasn't necessarily happy and or enjoying what I was doing. And it took a lot of reflection to actually put myself in a position to go down a path where I could be fulfilled in terms of what I wanted out of life and what I also wanted to give back. So I guess I say all that to say, I know sometimes people chase titles, and you might chase an organization, whatever the case it might be, but make sure that make sure you understand the work you want to do and the type of life that you want to have. Because those 2 things are critically way more important than any sort of title.
Great answer.
Great advice. I'm getting good advice on this panel. I haven't had my aha moment. I've had moments where, you know, younger Chanierica would have been like, oh, that's an aha moment, but my aha moment keeps moving. Like, it's like I haven't reached it yet, but when I do, I'm gonna circle back and let everybody know.
See, that's good. You're saving anticipation so you can be on the panel next year.
Maybe next year, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
maybe next year.
See, that's marketing.
It's marketing. I kind of feel similar to you. I mean, I think my audience, my folks out there would disagree with what
You
I'm
brought a
saying.
crowd with
and
you?
they,
You
yeah,
brought a crowd?
I got my piece.
Okay.
I think they think I've had many aha moments. I guess I would say I'm always striving. I think that's just who I am, to be better
Right.
and to do more. I
Right.
don't think I've had the aha moment that I'm really looking for, or not even know that I'm looking for. I just think I would feel it. But I have turned a 90-year-old brand around. It was literally dying. 80-year-old women were buying the product, and I really pushed my way through. I wasn't being looked at as the one that's going to change it, and we know why, but I really pushed and said, get out of my way, I'm going to do this, and just close the door and let me do my work. So yes, period. So the brand is definitely flourishing, and I think I didn't have a lot of support at the time. And I think through the process, finding your value and your worth, and then also the whole imposter syndrome conversation. I think what I did was I really leaned into who I am and also my own culture and bringing it into the product. And that's why I think it was also successful, bringing ideas into it that I knew they weren't seeing as an opportunity, but going back to like understanding the business jargon, I worked on an opportunity where I knew was gonna create revenue for the company. And that's when I was being listened to, and that's when I was heard. So I think I have had a few aha moments, but I don't settle. I think I just need to continue and keep pushing through even more.
Great answer.
We're 3 years old, so obviously it ain't no moment where I'm saying we made it. But I have such a big vision for this brand that we're building. I want to build a Black-owned global entity that can stand up here with these same logos that we see around us, and so I would say the one moment that recently happened that at least provided some form of validation for me, in that Actively Black outfitted Team Nigeria in the Summer Olympics in Paris. And I remember telling people what my vision was and what my goal was to build this Black-owned global brand. And so many people laughed at me and, like I said, told me that it would be impossible to do these things. And so we were in Paris and was at one of the events, and I was just, I was overwhelmed with, going in the Olympic Village and seeing these athletes wearing apparel that had the Actively Black logo on it, right? And then I remember getting back to the hotel, and I was scrolling on social media, and I saw this one picture. It was an athlete with the Nike logo running next to an athlete with a Puma logo, running next to an athlete with the Actively Black logo, and that was all in the same frame. So that was one of those moments for me that I was like,
So low key, that is an aha moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't sell yourself short, brother. That's an aha moment.
I'll receive that.
There you go.
I'll receive that.
The marathon continues. Like, we're still in the race.
Yes.
But I would say, as an entrepreneur, it's not just me. There are people that rely on me running payroll, and but it's really me that has to make sure that there's money in the bank, right?
Yes.
And it's not just paying people and doing the things. It's also like business insurance. It is, y'all, just stuff that just be like, oh, this is why people don't do this. Like
Taxes.
Taxes, my guy. Oh my gosh.
I didn't want to bring that word up.
Ooh, child. Triggered. But I don't have a co-founder,
Right.
So sometimes, whether my dad likes it or not, he's like my business therapist. And you go through tough times. You go through really tough times. Your highs are high, your lows are low. And sometimes when you're in those low times, you really can be like, let me just go get the SVP job. Let me just go get the thing. And I was talking to my dad, and he said something to me that there's something about, if you're a parent, like, there's something about you speaking into your child, no matter how old they are, that just all of a sudden it was like, dun, 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 like, I'm gonna do it. He's like, if anybody can do this, Tiffany, you can. And he's like, and you've been here before. Like, this ain't nothing. And God got you, and you're in flow.
Amen.
And so the aha moment is the consistency that I'm built for this. I'm built for this. And every single time I'm like, it's hard. Because it is hard.
Yes.
But I
Say
don't
that one
want
more
to
time.
be hard.
Yes, it is.
I don't want to be anywhere else.
Right.
I don't want to be anywhere else. And I'm like, and it can change. I can sell, I can do whatever it is, but it's going to be me. And it's going to be mine. And I think throughout my career, I worked in the music business and talent management, I worked in advertising.
Right.
But there is this sort of thing that I realized my why of why I do what I do. And it's because I believe when we leverage the social and creative capital of our communities, like of ourselves, we can change wealth outcomes for ourselves and our communities.
Amen.
So when we leverage our social and creative capital, we can absolutely do anything and make money, change money. 'Cause I know when I cut a check to a creator, like, they're not saving up for their Bugatti. Like, they put their grandma through nursing. They went and paid for their private school for their kids. They're doing things that build community. And, you know, when I cut a check to especially a woman of color, a black woman,
Right.
that's being spread amongst the community. So I take a lot of pride in what I do, and so it's not just marketing for me.
Great answer. So we come to the end of our segment. This is the last question, so we kind of got a red bullet. No shameless plug, red bullet, you know, speed it. So you guys both mentioned imposter syndrome. So many professionals struggle with imposter syndrome, especially when trying to own their own value. How do you navigate your feelings with self-doubt, and what advice would you give someone facing those same challenges? I'll touch on this a little bit because in my profession, I see it happen with me a lot. And the tone I've always say is, I draw and they trace. So I see it a lot in my industry. So we went this way, we come to you again, and we'll round it out with you.
So I definitely have experienced this, and I think I might have mentioned earlier, even though I went to an HBCU, I didn't necessarily finish. It's not even necessarily, I did not finish. But I was working we both worked at Pepsi. Like, you're surrounded by people that, Pepsi is recruiting at Ivy League schools. When I became a VP in the Foot Locker ecosystem, Georgetown here, et cetera, et cetera. So even though I was delivering double-digit quarterly growth, that still was always in the back of my head, and not until I realized that these companies are successful because they put good leaders in place that know how to run the business and choose people that are capable to continue that. And all of us as people of color have to realize that very rarely are we the ones benefiting from nepotism. Those same capable, successful leaders are the ones that chose you to do the job because they feel as though you have the capability, and you need to make sure that you understand that yourself and recognize that it's okay to have self-criticism, it's okay to want to be better, but realize that those capable people put you there for a reason and deliver the result, and you'll be good. So I think that's the best way I'd put it.
Great answer.
You literally took my answer.
I'm sorry.
No pressure. But to piggyback on that, it's the idea of don't be scared to take up space. Like, if you're in that room, you most likely earned it. And your currency, like, the value you bring is your your feedback, your opinions, your perspective, because it is probably different than the other people in the room. Like, a lot of times you're in rooms that weren't necessarily designed or built for you in mind. Therefore, what you're bringing to the table is not only authentic, but it's different, and it has value just in and that of itself. So don't be scared to take up space.
Agree. I'll keep it sweet and short. I think you definitely have to be prepared. And there's a difference between being prepared and being ready.
Right.
I think being ready is when you start creating your own self-doubt. Don't say that, oh, I'm not ready, oh, I'm not ready. Just get that out of your mind. You need to just do the homework and come to the table and being prepared. Then you'll show that you have the capability, you'll show yourself that you have the capability and the potential to, meet your goal. So it's really about being prepared.
Great answer.
This may not be as nice as what you said, but I have found that some of the rooms I've been in, some of the meetings I've been in, I've realized some of the people that I've put on pedestals don't actually know what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yes.
And,
They're not prepared.
And then if you kind of zoom out on that a little bit, I personally feel like there's been so much profit, so much that has been built off of the backs of black talent, black culture, black consumerism. And so the truth of the matter is we are the sauce, we are the seasoning, we are the blueprint. And the tagline for Actively Black is there is greatness in our DNA. And so I've started to just tap into the fact that, this is already inside of me. It's already inside of us. What we have lacked is not the talent or the ability, it's been the opportunity. And so when I get those opportunities to kick those doors down, I'm gonna step in it, you know, confidently, knowing that like there's greatness in my DNA. Like if they can't recognize it, that's on them. But yeah.
No, I feel what you're saying, because that's kind of like how we say with the gatekeeping thing, right?
Yeah.
But when somebody come ask me about gatekeeping, I tell them I'm from Detroit, we hop gates. So we're gonna get over there regardless. We'll close it with you. You close the show.
I will close the show out. So I have an ideology called Conscious Hustler.
Right.
And in that, it's about performing with a level of excellence, pursuit of excellence, not perfectionism, excellence. And doing that with a consciousness on top of it, which means you have to know yourself. And when you're in those times where emotions can be high, pressure can mount, you have to be able to observe your mind.
Right.
And if you work on yourself, if you work on your self-development, your emotional EQ, when you're in those moments of imposter syndrome or I don't know if I can do this or whatever, you can snap out of yourself, observe yourself and be like, girl, who you talking to? You know? Like, come on now. Like he said, greatness is in our DNA, and you remind yourself, like, this is a moment.
Right.
This is a fleeting moment. All I have to do, and this is actually what I do in real life, is I say, what are the actions? Like, I'm a visionary, so I can see big picture, but it's like, what can I do right now? Can I send that one email out? Can I connect with that one LinkedIn? Like, just keep focusing on the actions, the small actions. And then all of a sudden, that somebody hits you back up and da-da-da, you're in the momentum and you're in the flow.
Right.
You forgot you wasn't supposed to be, you forgot you was an imposter. Like, you just, because you're already in it. So
There you go.
get on your conscious hustler flow and keep it going.
Well, this time has went by fast. We could have went another hour because the way the conversation went and the way it flowed. I appreciate every last one of you for taking time out to sit on the couch with us and share your stories with the people out here. Please give it up for all of the panelists, please.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now wait. She got the biggest pop out of everybody, right? Because she brought her own posse here, right? Let's give it up one more time for everybody on this panel. Thank you. Now, this is a marketing key, right? Wait, when you take this picture, make sure you get my shoes. Yeah.
Oh, we have time for 2 questions.
Well, it ain't over then, huh? See, when the conversation is good, we keep talking. Let's go. Come on. Come on.
Where's the question?
What? You know the did run out.
Right.
From the cloud? Okay.
Good afternoon, everybody. I want to say peace to everybody in the audience. Thank y'all for coming, because I'm sure y'all coming from different spaces, and thank y'all for your time and transparency and vulnerability. I have one question. I know we talk a lot about mentorship, and we always get that advice from people in the positions. But how can we get the attention of y'all to mentor us? Like, what stands out? What should we be doing? How should we be, like, contacting y'all? Because I think one thing that is hard for me, or anybody, I'm sure, is we put in that work, we put in that time, and we ask, but we never get a response back. So how can we get the attention of people who we want to mentor us, or people alike? And I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Ruben Feliz. I'm an artist, and I'm an automotive sculptor.
Good question.
I can.
Yeah, it was hard to hear. It was like muffled.
I think his question was, how can I get the attention of folks like us to be mentored? And did I get that right, Ruben? Right?
Yeah, my bad. I thought I was speaking loud. My bad. And also, are y'all open to take mentees? Like, also, I'm sure people in the crowd are probably thinking that, so I'll ask that for them. So how can we, as creatives and entrepreneurs and workers, get the attention of not just y'all, but just anybody in a position, and what will stand out?
Your work.
Yeah.
Your work will stand out, and it'll speak for you. And so if you are doing a cold email, or if you met one of us on the street, whatever, you present your work, you present what you like about that person that you like. If you're talking to a strategist or whatever, or illustrator, this is what I liked about your work, this is what I'm trying to do for mine, this is my portfolio. Would you have 15 minutes to talk to me about the specific thing? You know, I was pretty hard. I was like,
Yeah,
specific.
Agreed.
And you have to clarify your vision so that you can present it to whomever you want to talk to. Because a lot of folks, they can hear your problem and be like, done. It can take them no time. But if they have to seek and search out the actual thing you really want to talk about, you're taking up too much space, you know? But I would say that.
Can I add to that one? I'll just use a quick example. So I was actually at Pepsi at the time, and this young kid hit me up. He was just finishing up his MBA program, and he just wanted to grab 15 minutes to learn more about my background. It literally took me maybe about 6 months till we finally found time to talk. I really, really liked him, and I was like, hey, just stay in touch with me. By the time I was running marketing at Foot Locker, hit me up again, and I ended up hiring him. And this was maybe 2 years had passed since that initial time that he reached out, and he's now, you know, running digital and social at the NFL. So also don't be afraid to have a cold reach out, to have that exploratory call, but then also don't take offense if someone isn't able to get back to you immediately. Be persistent, be respectful when you do it, but also just take their time into consideration as well.
Agree, 100%. Yeah, I think you definitely have to show up in that space and be ready to know what you're looking for. Don't just show up. You have to have a point of view and what you're looking to get out of the relationship, because you're trying to build that relationship. So that's also very key, because you're right, time is precious. We get so busy. It's not that we're trying to ignore. We do want to help. I would love to do, you know, mentorship more, but it is about showing up and being ready to have that conversation, and it's a give and take on the relationship.
Okay, I have one more thing to add to that, because a lot of us are really good at making friends, but when you have an intention, and we never get to the ask, right? So like you be like, oh, you know, you can have a ton of relationships, a huge network, but you never asked anybody for anything because you were scared, or you're like, I don't want them to look at me differently, or whatever. I want us as a people to be better at asking for what we need and what we want. And even if it's not from that person, do you know somebody that does X or does that? Like, people love connecting people, you know? So just be mindful of that too, making sure you're not just making relationships without an intention, and it being genuine, you know?
Last question? No questions?
Sure. Any more? Oh, there's one in the middle.
Can you please stand? Stand. And a little bit louder. That's what I'm talking about. Help us out.
Thank you. I'm Luis Romaine. I'm a fashion student at Miami Fashion Institute. And so my question for you guys are basically like, what are things that like when you were coming up that were just like initial issues that maybe took longer than needed to get over, but like because of maybe your like how amateur a level you were, you couldn't see or you couldn't tell, like maybe it was getting a mentor or maybe asking the right question, like what was the blocks that if you could just, for anybody else that's about to do it, clear it up for them, what was it for you?
I want to make sure I understand. So you're asking if there was something that happened, maybe that we had to get over, like maybe it was a habit or an attitude or a belief
Habit,
or
bad interaction, something that like kind of like a mental fester and like thing, but it's not as big as you're letting it be to you yourself. Yeah.
jealousy for me.
You said jealousy?
I said jealousy. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I had to get over it. And I had to learn where it came from, which was fear, you know? And there's so many talented, incredible people that are doing their thug thizzle that I get really excited about. But when I was younger, I was like, what about me? And like, I didn't identify with jealousy. So I didn't actually name the emotion. I would just be tight, you know? Like, they don't see me the way and it was just like, girl, if you don't get over yourself. So learning to stand in my own greatness, learning to also appreciate what other people bring. So I went from a jealous mindset, but it also taught me I have a desire. And I'm like, okay, it's okay to have a desire. You want whatever it is. It's like you might want, a better title. You might want some more money. You might want whatever. But let that be the desire. It has nothing to do with other people and blocking their blessings. It has everything to do with what does Tiffany want, how am I going about my business getting that, and how can I be moving from a space of fear to a space of gratitude because I'm on my way, And so that was a early lesson that I got over, and life got better.
I would just add to that as well. It's super simple. Things aren't fair. Early in my career, I thought that if I did the same work or better, I would be promoted or compensated in the same way. And as you'll see throughout your career, whatever those endeavors are, it's not going to be fair. To her point, it's really all about how you deal with it not being fair.
And I'll touch on that as well too. So like you said, the jealousy part, not so much with me, and like how you said, things are not going to be fair, but when you are getting started, and I'll be brutally honest, this industry has favorites. This industry is very cliquey. It's very who you with this month, who you with that month, who gets this one, who gets that one. So when you break in the brand, I used to always get mad. I used to always be like, well, this guy is garbage. And I'm from Detroit. So, but I had to learn that stop getting bitter and just go get better. And so once I learned that, and then once I created my own lane and stopped trying to go down the same lane everybody was traveling, I found out I was getting looks. I found out I was getting POs. I found out I was getting orders and all that stuff too. So I would say that you have to understand this is an ugly game. I thought the streets was tough. Here, it's even tougher, but you can't get back like how you would get back in the streets. Like, just saying. But yeah, that's my 25 cents.
You said you always get your lick.
Oh, I do. That's why I say I draw and they trace.
I think the one thing I would add to that is a lot of people are searching for some secret to success, a recipe to success, and the truth is it doesn't exist. And there's obviously clues, success leaves behind clues that you can follow and learn from, but everybody's journey is so unique that no matter who you get as a mentor, no matter who you get connected to, they could tell you every single step that they took. There's no way that you're gonna be able to duplicate that and replicate the same outcome that they had. Everybody's journey is unique, and so I think understanding that and owning that also helps with allowing yourself to stop the comparison game. Because I see a lot of people get trapped into that, especially now with social media. You can see other people's journeys, and then you compare where you are, especially in the beginning, like, man, this is happening for this person, but it's not happening for me. Whatever that thing is that keeps you up at night, whatever that thing is that is burning inside of you, your path is going to be revealed as you keep walking in it. Nobody's going to give you, I could tell you everything I did. He could tell you everything he did. Everybody could tell you. You're not going to be able to replicate those footsteps. Your footsteps are going to be unique to you. And yeah, kill the comparison. Kill the comparison. And I think if you can own that, it'll allow you to just focus on what you have to do for your journey and your dream.
And don't put so much pressure on yourself. I think a lot of times we put so much pressure on ourselves, and we're telling ourselves we need to be here, we need to be there. And honestly, success is in the eye of the beholder. It's what you've decided success looks like. And that's what's going to satisfy you, because you may get to where you think you're supposed to be and realize that I'm not happy, and be able to shift and then pivot and be okay with that. So honestly, it's success. I mean, you could say we're all successful, but honestly, it's up to you to make that decision. What do you think success looks like for you? And that's what's going to make you happy.
That's a big one.
Okay, so I think the clock is all zeros now, so there's nothing left from us. Thank you guys for participating with us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So good.
Thank you so much.